From ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 in Southern California. This is BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today we have Josh Jacobs with us. And Josh is the founder of one of the most fascinating companies that I've seen in quite a while, Speakeasy Co. And Speakeasy is a company that is streamlining the chaotic world of alcohol e-commerce. And I don't even understand it, but I know that it's crazy. But welcome out to the show, Josh.
Thanks for the kind words and appreciate you having me on the show, Tyler.
Absolutely. So I always start at the very beginning. When was the very first moment in your life that you realized, Josh, you're an entrepreneur?
That's an interesting question, Tyler. I can't recall the exact day that it dawned on me, but I can recall the first startup back in college where it was kind of pre that big internship between junior and senior year, where one of my roommates and I were just racking our heads saying, there aren't a lot of great internships in the market. A lot of them are for fluff resume builders. And we said that there's an incredible talent pool of college kids that are underutilized. And so we started creating our own mini staffing agency. And so that was my first taste of entrepreneurism. And I was hooked right out of the gate.
That's awesome. I found for most entrepreneurs, it either happens when they're like a kid, like 5 years old, or that first time where they're like, they're a little bit older, maybe early adulthood, and they see that first problem they get to solve. And I love that. So now you're running Speakeasy. And so tell us what today Speakeasy is, and then we'll work backwards from there.
Speakeasy is an e-commerce and fulfillment platform purpose-built for the alcohol industry. And that's a mouthful, and we'll definitely unpack it. But in a nutshell, we help alcohol brands sell online where that's not compliant due to the existing regulatory structure.
So, and there's a lot of barriers and a lot of regulatory structure. And I mean, you guys, there's a lot of industry lingo for people that aren't in the industry where like the basics of it is an alcohol brand cannot sell directly to a consumer online. Is that the shortest or period, right?
There are some exceptions, Tyler. If you go to a brewery or distillery, you can purchase in person in certain states. But generally speaking, you're absolutely correct. Brands cannot sell direct to consumer. There are these three tiers. The brands have to sell it to a distributor, the middleman that transports from the brand to the third tier, bars, restaurants, and liquor stores, where we as consumers purchase product generally.
So a lot of this, like, and not only is it super complex, it's different by state. And a lot of this stems all the way back to like prohibition, right? And the rules that started at that time as the law started loosening up and opening back up, which I love that you then created your company called Speakeasy. How did you guys get your start?
We got our start back in 2015, and it was during the rise of the subscription boxes. And Tyler, are you familiar with Blue Apron and Birchbox?
Yep.
Absolutely. And so what we loved about Blue Apron was they were taking something as intimidating as whipping up a gourmet meal at home and democratizing that experience. What we loved about Birchbox was the whole sample to full size component and e-commerce store that they had. We thought this was an opportunity with Blue Apron that you were really only engaging with them through the subscription box. So we were looking at the intersection of Blue Apron and Birchbox. And back in 2015, it was also the rise of craft cocktails. They're becoming integral facets of restaurant menus and even dedicated bars popping up all over the place. So we thought, okay, this is it. This is an amazing opportunity. None of our friends, family, even ourselves, my wife and I were the original founders at the beginning. We were like, no one knows how to make a craft cocktail. There's got to be an opportunity here. And then even going online, there's not a centralized location for information or to purchase.
Yeah. So there's a lot. So you saw a lot of different opportunities. How did you first dip your toe into the market?
So one of my favorite entrepreneurial quotes is, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you've launched too late. And
I agree.
so
So starting the story with the fact that it's embarrassing, we'll start from there. But I agree with that, by the way. I think it's so true.
So we said, Tyler, what is the fastest way we could launch? And we, outside of making tequila shots with lime and salt, we had no idea how to make a cocktail. So we went to a bar and we asked the bartender if we could film him whip up a cocktail. And I still remember to this day that he made a whiskey smash and he was walking us through all the individual parts about slapping them in to release the oils and the fragrances. And it was really incredible and helping validate this whole mission that we were on. So we had the video. Then we went to the liquor store, we got some of the ingredients. Then we went to the grocery store, we got the remainder, and we started doing these home visits. We went to friends, acquaintances, colleagues, anyone that would let us in their doors, which was virtually anyone because we had a box of booze. And speaking of being embarrassed, we had a brown craft standard box where we slapped a logo on top. We literally taped a logo that we'd made just on Word. And we went into people's homes. And it was an incredibly fascinating experience watching all the mistakes that we had made. People couldn't hear certain sections. They kept rewinding about the directions. We didn't have directions printed out. That was one of the first things we learned. Then the second thing we quickly learned was most people don't have the cocktail accoutrement. So no one had a strainer. And kudos to our friends. They were using spatulas to strain, and we were all laughing our asses off and having a fantastic time. And at the end of these home interviews, we asked every single person, would you pay $40 a month for this subscription box? And to our surprise, a lot of people said yes. And to their surprise, we said, all right, give us your credit card information. And lo and behold, we had our first couple subscribers in just a matter of days from after coming up with the idea.
Awesome. And so how did walk us through that first couple of years? What was the highest number of subscribers you had? And I think things have changed since then. So when did you finally call the audible of it? It's time to pivot.
We went through a series of learnings and iterations until we eventually pivoted or made the decision to pivot at the end of 2017. So I'll kind of walk you through those early days because it helps explain the model that exists today. So right out of the gate with the subscription boxes, it was a mission of ours to not just introduce subscribers to new cocktails, but to the most important ingredient in a cocktail, the spirits. So naturally, we gravitated to partnering with craft distilleries and craft spirit companies. And they were the ones educating us on the 3-tier system that exists today that we've already talked a little bit about. And they blew our minds when they shared that our subscription box was virtually the best marketing vehicle that existed in the industry. They had an opportunity to curate an experience for drinkers and have this little bit of engagement. And we didn't know what, Tyler, but from early on, we said, let's challenge ourselves to think of creative ways to fuel these craft distilleries' growth. So that was kind of version one. We got off the ground with our subscription boxes. And going back to Birchbox, we knew we wanted to have this sample to full size component. So it was very organic for us to then start reselling past partners 750 ml bottles. And after a couple months, not the most exciting e-commerce store. So we had just a couple of bottles. So we said, all right, why are we limiting ourselves to just past partners when we're such a young startup? Let's build a craft spirit store.
Right.
And that was really, go ahead, Tom.
No, that makes sense. Like you're new, so you don't have a ton of boxes that you shipped and you don't have a huge customer base. So you can start looking at maybe acquiring customers from 2 different angles.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really saw the store as a separate vertical. And as we talked about, there wasn't a centralized location to shop craft spirits accoutrement. So whether it's a shaker, a jigger, a strainer, whether it's bitters or these craft spirits, we wanted to be this location. And so whether you were enjoying the subscription box or you were just coming to us for supplies, we really wanted to be that one-stop shop.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's going to open up. There's a idea that each new SKU you add in your business like multiplies the complexity of your business by 12, right? So you have a beginning subscription box, but then you're also like, let's start adding all these other SKUs. Did business get more complex, or did this actually help solve things?
Business certainly got more complex very quickly. And one of your questions, Tyler, how many subscribers do we get up to? How quickly do we grow? And things took off fairly quickly. We didn't raise a whole bunch of money from VCs. We were bootstrapping. And so we went from 5 subscribers and we kept doubling for the first number of months. And very quickly, we outgrew our liquor store partner. However, fulfilling single size bottles of alcohol is much simpler. So while it complicated the overall business model, it was something that our liquor store partner was accustomed to fulfilling. And so they basically told us we outgrew their capacity for the subscription boxes, but they were able to support the single bottle sales. And if there were some bitters to include, that's much more up their alley. And so basically they had put a cap on our growth, and we had to take our foot off the gas for marketing. And we had this whole other revenue stream that we were interested in, and we could actually continue to push.
Awesome. And so, I mean, this is going on through like 2015, 2016, 2017. Is that when you basically said, okay, we've got to pull our foot off the gas? Or did you eventually just say, you know what, we're going to make an even bigger pivot. We're going to can the subscription box, and we're going to go bigger in other problems that we can solve?
Yeah. And so we launched November 2015 with those first 5 or so subscribers. And then after about 6 or so months, we had tapped out the liquor store's capacity. And so we were simultaneously exploring other fulfillment partners. And alcohol, as we talked about, lots of red tape. So finding a 3PL partner was not as simple as it would be in many other industries. And I'm sure even now there are more that have popped up, just as subscription boxes continue to be more and more common. However, back in middle of 2016, we were really starting to focus on this liquor store as we were exploring new partner opportunities for the subscription box. And going back to that mission, let's challenge ourselves to think of creative ways to fuel the craft brand's growth. So we built this liquor store, and we asked them, we said, hey, what do you think of our liquor store? And they said, well, outside of your selection, which might be somewhat unique, it's no better than other existing online liquor stores. And so we pressed them. We said, okay, tell us more. And they said, well, on your liquor store website and every other online liquor store, we have no control over the user experience, the look, the feel, the design, the price, the shipping cost, any of the messaging. At the bottom of our product page, you're promoting other alcohol brands. And so it's great for you to perhaps run your own liquor store and your own brand and your own marketing, but we're certainly not going to invest much resources on our end. And so that was the first major spark that put us down a new path. And we said, okay, how can we improve upon the general liquor store marketplace experience? So we built dedicated landing pages on our website to each of these craft partners that we were working with. We hid all the navigation. We skinned it to look like their website. So it was a more seamless handoff from their website to our website, instilling more confidence to start investing in digital marketing. And we started seeing much more success. And we started actually just pitching this whole dedicated shopping cart. So we had the subscription boxes we were still trying to find a partner for. We had the liquor store, our own brand that we were working on. And then we had this new complexity that we were adding. But it wasn't necessarily, going back to your question, a lot of complexity on the back end. Whether the transaction came in from a marketplace or the transaction came in from a dedicated landing page, on the back end, the liquor store fulfilling, it was all the same to them. So for us, it was really just a new model to pitch and a new potential revenue stream. And thank God we didn't take the foot off the gas. We have a lot of partners starting to reach out to us in our neighborhood in San Diego. And a potential partner reached out and said, hey, Josh, rather than a dedicated landing page on your website, what if you built us a website from the ground up? where we had complete control over the user experience. We had access to all the fundamental e-commerce tools, cart abandonment emails, Google Analytics, retargeting, Facebook pixels, everything, except we relied on your compliance and fulfillment backend. And Tyler, that was the eureka moment that happened summer 2017.
I love that. And so, I mean, as an e-com guy, I understand the challenge that brands have of not wanting to, like, one, give up control, but also like support someone who's technically selling against them in some ways. Now, it's short-sighted and it's the wrong mindset, but I understand that that's where a lot of brands come from. So I love that you said, hey, that is a problem, or like it's a problem to you. So what if we create like a customized experience where we get to still focus on your brand? Because, you know, nobody wants to, the minute somebody clicks on something, all of a sudden see all their competitors, right? They don't want their brand. They don't want their brand being featured against everybody else. They want that spotlight. I think that's really, really cool. And so like, how you started getting brands jump on board, you started solving all these problems. Like, where are you guys at now? Where are you headed?
So we just got to summer 2017. We launched a pilot with this potential partner that approached us with the idea where we built them an independent website. And right out of the gate, they started selling hundreds of bottles a month at the light. And so the light at the end of the tunnel was that much closer with this B2B model. We didn't have to go and fundraise a bunch of money for ourselves. Virtually every partner that we brought on was a mini fundraise because they brought their own marketing dollars. And after this pilot just completely knocked it out of the park, we decided that we wanted to sunset the subscription boxes and focus entirely on this new platform. Funny side story, we had also brought on a new business partner since we had found a fulfillment partner for the subscription boxes. So we brought on a new business partner to redesign the subscription boxes, redesign the website, and relaunch and really go big with the subscription boxes. Fortunately, he saw the vision with the direct-to-consumer platform that exists today and was all in, and he's been an integral part of the team ever since. And so we launched in February 2018, the first brand on our proprietary platform that exists today.
So I love that. You brought him in, hey, come and help us do this. And then you decide to completely like go a different direction. But he stayed on board. And it's that old adage of if you have the right people on the bus, right, then you can take the bus wherever you need to. So you had a good team member, good partner, and you guys are going all in on this direction. Now, so if, you know, I reached out to you guys originally. I think I saw one of your ads or something. And as an e-com guy, I'm like, man, I know brands that could either want to add their own product. Like, I believe you guys worked with some really big names. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but I think you guys did the Tesla Tequila, which was a huge product launch, really well known in the space of people that like Tesla and Elon Musk. If you did, maybe talk a little bit about that and how people maybe that don't have as big of a presence as Elon, but how they could do their own version.
Certainly, yeah, and happy to talk about it. It's one of the things we're most proud of at this point. The last launch, tens of thousands of bottles sold out in 45 minutes. Really incredible. And that type of success might be difficult to replicate, millions and millions of dollars. However, there are micro influencers and there are entrepreneurs that understand e-commerce. And what's so exciting is that according to the IWSR, less than 2% of alcohol sales at this time are online. You look at other industries, it's more like 15, 20, 25% and growing. There's a really exciting runway, and the IWSR is projecting 400% growth in the next couple of years. And I'd expect that exponential curve to continue. And so there's a really exciting opportunity for micro influencers, entrepreneurs, marketers to come into this space while not everyone's jumped in and get a really quick head start. From what we're seeing, the acquisition costs and the clicks are extremely low compared to other saturated markets.
Like, that's insane. 2%. Again, I don't mean to keep saying, but as an e-com guy, any market understanding that only 2% of it's online, huge opportunity. And I'm also a huge believer of a lot of these, we'll call them influencers, but people who have an audience needing to own a little bit more of their supply chain, right? Like, there are people that have huge followings and all they're doing is looking for brand deals and selling other people's products. And I think we're starting to see a lot more of those people realize I could do my own thing, and own a little bit more of the customer experience and or at least be more proud of the thing I'm moving, right? And so, not that there's anything wrong with brand deals, but I just think it's really, really neat. And so, you guys, I mean, tens of thousands of products in 4.5 hours is not normal. What are some other of those kind of deals or those kind of things that you guys have done that you can share with us?
Yeah, one of the other marquee logos we're working with, if you're familiar with the alcohol industry, is WhistlePig. And WhistlePig has a really unique approach for online sales. They are widely distributed for some of their SKUs. They have certain SKUs that are highly allocated, impossible to get. And then they have other SKUs that have historically only been available in Vermont out of their tasting room. And e-commerce presents an opportunity with centralized fulfillment to get product in the hands of consumers in a much wider demographic with that control. And we'll keep going back to that word, Tyler. Control is really at the heart of our offering. And so WhistlePig's first launch, they took 2 single barrels that have never been available outside of their tasting room in Vermont, and they threw them up on our platform. And lo and behold, they sold out of both in just a couple hours. Then they did a second launch with an 18-year-old reserve, and it was $400, I think. And
Wow.
that they sold out in just a couple hours as well. And so there's an exciting opportunity for emerging craft brands that don't have the notoriety to have more control over their growth. So going back to that word control, what is existed in this industry is reliance upon the distributors, the second tier and the third tier bars, restaurants, and liquor stores to promote brands. But now all of a sudden through e-commerce, they can start running Facebook and Instagram ads and own their own growth. Where before, if they ran those ads, it was either to an online liquor store where they had no visibility, no ownership of the customer data to monetize the lifetime value of the consumer, or they said, here are the locations were available, brick and mortar, not
Right.
the most modern experience. So it's really challenging for these small brands to get off the ground. And then on the other end of the spectrum, these larger brands, it's an opportunity for them to control the unboxing experience, where brands have had no control over the experience in a bar, restaurant, or liquor store. Now they can curate this really elevated experience in the box and in your home, and not just control the experience, but also gives them an opportunity to focus on small batch, harder to find, rarer products.
I love the model. I love what you guys are doing. We preach a lot of what you say all the time, like the ability to have control, to have the customer data, but really the customer experience, right? Like sometimes when we say customer data, people that aren't in the marketing world, it feels icky, right? Because it's like, oh, you just want it for you. It's like, no, like you want your customers to have a great experience, right? You wouldn't do that in a, like you wouldn't as a chiropractor be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be in back, but I'm going to have a bunch of like people that don't work for me working the front desk and just
Right.
hope they do a good job. By the time you get to me, maybe you'll still be happy, right? Like, but for some reason in some industries, we accept that faster. So I love how you guys are really bringing control back to the brands. And you guys are working with, I think, like over 180 craft brands now, which I think is amazing. What are some of the other, like, I mean, obviously, Tesla Tequila that's not something, an industry they plan to stay into, right? They're not trying to move into the tequila space. It's a promotional type thing. Do you guys do promotional type things often, or is that really less common?
Tesla Tequila was our first taste of promotional, and we're hooked. So we're certainly seeking
Good.
other opportunities. And I mean, we might be only going downhill after Tesla. What
That
an
was a good,
incredible
it was a
opportunity.
good test. Yeah, it was a good
Yeah.
first toe in the market for sure.
Perfect first test, but there are lots of brands that have incredible reaches, and even going back to these micro influencers that we can even pair up with some of these craft brands that we're working with. We don't necessarily need to create a whole brand around it, but maybe we can do Casamigos at a much smaller version, and we can tie some of these micro influencers maybe with a brand in their local market, in their local neighborhood. And maybe instead of selling Casamigos for 300 million, maybe we can help these small craft brands sell more product.
Very cool. And so, yeah, I love that. I love the idea of like collaborating with micro influencers and brands, and especially local and regional. I think that's really cool. What are the challenges you guys are currently trying to like battle through? And as you're like working through those, and like, cause you're hitting a new level of scale, right? So how are you, what are you doing to solve today's challenges?
The biggest challenge we face right now is around awareness. This is such a shift in strategy that we haven't really seen this leap in the 88 years since Prohibition. The decades old sales models of someone pouring in a liquor store or going to different brewery events and distillery events, that's really the only sales and marketing technique that's existed. And so our partners first have to buy into the idea of digital. That's hurdle number one. Well, first they have to know about it, that it exists. Second, then they have to buy into it. Then the third challenge we're facing is the fact that since this is such a paradigm shift away from the traditional model, most of the brands that we're connecting with aren't necessarily equipped to maximize our offering. They don't have a digital marketer on staff, and they certainly don't have a big digital marketing budget. And so we're trying to hold our partners' hands and coach them through some of this. We're also starting to offer our own digital marketing services. Hey, it doesn't make sense for you as a small brand to go all in and jump in head first. Why don't you outsource and partner with us? We have incredible visibility. We have the in-house expertise. We can run the marketing on your behalf. But as the conversation of direct to consumer and e-commerce is really taking off, you can't really go a week in the alcohol industry now without seeing one of these crazy numbers. Online alcohol sales up 200%, 500%, whatever it might be. We're seeing much larger brands, for example, WhistlePig, get into this. And this is where it's going to get especially exciting, since they have marketing teams and marketing budgets to really help push this forwards. And what we need is not just awareness for the brands, but awareness for the consumers. We've been trained to go to the liquor store every Thursday or Friday to get our alcohol for the weekend. Not a ton of consumers are looking online. And if we can just open up the eyes and spread the awareness, once you go and shop from your favorite distillery's website and have it delivered directly to your door, you're going to be hooked. And
Right.
once you taste that convenience, there's no going back.
I love it. I just think I love anytime people are like going head on at challenges, right? And so not only do you have like the regulatory challenges, but like you said, the awareness challenge of just going to a lot of these brands they've been around for years. So the people that are marketing or running it they're not even thinking of this kind of a thing. So you have to go and raise awareness and then you have to like introduce them to the problem and then show them how you've solved it. And I just think it's really cool. What is one major item on Josh's personal bucket list that you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Tesla was certainly a bucket list item that's going to be hard to eclipse again. In the next 12 months, I'd love to see a major household name on the Speakeasy platform, not necessarily delivering one of their main SKUs, since those are available in every liquor store. But if we can get another WhistlePig that's offering some of these unique SKUs and cocktail kits and custom unboxing experiences, that's going to drive significant awareness. It's going to bring more brands into the space, which is going to bring more consumers. And that's the cycle that we need.
I love it. So people should go and learn more about you at speakeasyco.com. You guys are available. You're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're all those places. If people want to learn, is that where they should go? Or is there anywhere else that people should go to learn more about what's going on?
No, that's perfect. Go to our website, check out our social
Awesome.
media. You can also reach out to me directly, josh@speakeasyco.com. Let us know if there's a particular spirit you're interested in, and we can share a couple brands that we're working with.
I love it. Guys, I'm so excited for any time a entrepreneur comes on the show and shares how they're solving problems. It's an opportunity for you to learn and grow. So now, wherever you are listening, it's your turn to go out and do something.
Thank you for listening to BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio with Tyler Jorgensen. Please make sure to subscribe so you're first to hear new interviews and episodes. If you found this podcast to be valuable, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to visit our online dojo at bizninja.com to claim your reward for listening to the show.